How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another One Piece card game video. My name is That Manga Nerd, and this is the second video covering the OP02 set Paramount War, which is set to come out on March 10th. And this video will be going over all of the green cards. Wano gets a pretty big buff in this set with a new leader and a new stage, as well as a couple new cards that may or may not make an Odin deck from OP01 a little bit better, or the leader Kinemon in this set is just good in general that makes the OP01 cards better in OP02. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop over here to the Japanese side of the website and go through all of these cards. So up first we have Kinemon as the leader. He is a 5 life, 5000 power slasher. His effect is activate main once per turn. If you have one or less cards, the next time you play a Lana Wano type character card with a cost of 3 or more from your hand during this turn, the cost will be reduced by 1. So Okiku from the first set can be played for 2, Raizo can be played for 2, and you can also get a free Momo search off of this. So you play him for free, so you play him for 0 and then use his effect to rest and rest 1 Dawn and play him or use his effect. So pretty good leader all in all. It's can build board really fast. In the Japanese meta, Kinemon was used to outbuild Zoro and have a better board presence earlier than Zoro, because Zoro's going to be playing a lot of low characters that he can then boost up with certain effects. But this guy lets you get good characters on the field for cheap for the first 2 turns, depending on how many low cards you have in your hand. So all in all, a pretty good card. It does get a parallel, just like all the other leaders, where it's him, just some random scene where he's sweating, but he's always sweating, so who really knows where it's from? I'm pretty sure someone's found it out, but, all in all, good leader. Not as good as starter deck Kid with the restand ability, but he is not bad. Then we're going to go into Sanji, a green-blue leader, the first multicolor of this combination that we've seen. So he is a 4 life, 5000 power strike, Straw Hat Crew type. His effect is once per turn when you play a character with no base effects, so a vanilla that does not include trigger effects. He cannot have a trigger, and no effect for this no base effect. When you play a character, no base effect from your hand, if you have 3 or less characters set up to 2 of your Dawn is active. So not a bad effect, but it's just it's very restricting for cards that you're going to be able to play. So you have to you can't have a lot of characters on the field for him to be viable. 2, it literally has to be a pure vanilla where no triggers, so you can't even play some vanillas have triggers where it's just play the card. You can't even have those in there. So that doesn't mean that this leader is bad, because you can play a 7/8 vanilla, but essentially play him for 5, because you get to restand 2 of your Dawn is active. So it's good in that instance where you can play bigger bodies for a little bit cheaper, but it's only up to that 3 characters or less. But with the color combination of green and blue, so green you're looking for double attacks and blue you're looking for board control, it's a pretty good color combination, but then the effect does kind of dwindle that down, also making it a once per turn. It is a strong ability, so I can understand why it's once per turn, but it's not that strong because you can only play vanillas. But I can see this getting some play. It does have a parallel as well, really nice parallel. I can see this one going for a lot just because it looks real nice. Then we go on to the character cards. So we have Dogstorm here, 3/4 slasher, 1k. He's a Minx, Land of Wano, and the Akaza 9. Effects: if all of your Dawn cards are rested, this character cannot be removed from the field by your opponent's effects. So he can be KO'd by battle, but he cannot be, when attacking effects, cannot pop him. or on play effects can just basically, he can only be taken if you use all 10 of your Dawn, they're all rested, then he has to be punched out or kicked out. He can only be KO'd through battle. Now the question here is, does Dawn attached to characters count as rested? I believe it will. You just can't have any active Dawn up for this effect to go. So all in all, not that bad of a card. You do have to attach one to him to be able to swing to lead. But if we're talking about Whitebeard here, you have to put 2 on him. So kind of hefty. So not a bad effect, but maybe some other card will be better down the line. Then we have our first vanilla here, which can be played from Sanji, the leader Sanji. 3/5, 1k counter. He's a range type. Film and Straw Hat Crew. He has no trigger, no base effect, so he can be played for on Sanji's turn 2. If he goes first, Sanji's turn 2 can be played, and then you have 2 Dawn left over, so you have essentially 5 Dawn. So, Sanji's looking a little better now. Then we have Carrot, a 5/5 2k counter, special attribute Minx Tribe. At the end of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. So not a good combo with Dogstorm, because Dogstorm you have to have all rested Dawn, but she is a good effect just to have in general, because you get to you can use all your Dawn, and if you have a one cost event in your hand, then she lets you restand it at the end of your turn, to where then you can use the 1 cost event, which might be a scalpel or something else. So pretty good card. She's a 2k counter, so it's maybe have 4 of in hand in the deck, just because you can use her for hand counters, but then also her effect isn't that bad. So, and then we have our first SR here. It's Odin. He's a 8/8 slasher, Land of Wano and Kozuki clan. His effect is activate main once per turn. You rest 3 Dawn, set this character as active. So it's essentially a leader kid as a character. So it's a really strong effect for keeping him on the field or getting 2 swings off, which you could go for game potentially. He also has an on KO, play up to 1 green Land of Wano type character card with a cost of 3 from your deck, then shuffle your deck. So you could get an Okiku, you could get a Momo out in the field, you could get a number of different Land of Wano characters on the field, so you don't really lose a body that turn. I would probably go for an Okiku, because then that Okiku next turn can swing, or the start of your next turn can swing, rest a blocker, and go for game. He does have a parallel, which looks, it's a little bit nicer, but I kind of prefer this one over this one, but not bad. Then we have Kozuki Toki, a 1/0 1k in hand, Wisdom, Land of Wano, Kozuki clan. If you have a Kozuki Odin character, this character gains blocker. So it's a really cheap blocker that's 0, that it just says a Kozuki Odin character, and as we know from the first set, the secret rare Yamato, that one is treated as Kozuki Odin. So if you have the secret rare Yamato on the field, but you don't have the big 8/8 Odin, then she still gains a blocker because Yamato's on the field, but Yamato's Odin, all this and all that. So cheap blocker, just fill, but 1k in hand as well, not bad. She also does get a parallel, which is just a close-up of the picture frame. So then our next card is Shishilian, a 2/3 1k counter, a slasher attribute Minx Tribe. So its effect is on play, rest 2 Dawn, set up to one of your Minx Tribe characters with a cost of 5 or less. So not a bad effect, but it is limited to on play and Minx Tribe, so you're gonna want to be running a Minx deck more so. There are a couple cards like the Carrot that we looked at that you can restand, or the Dogstorm that you can restand, but you don't really need to restand the Dogstorm, and you kind of don't really need to restand the Carrot, but the Carrot's probably more of a better choice than anyone else that we've seen so far. This one is one to keep an eye on. It'll probably be a lot better, and more sets to come where we get more Minx tribe characters. So then we have our next vanilla here. It's a 2/4 1K counter Jimbei, Striker, Film, Fisherman, and Straw Hat Crew. So another target for Sanji leader, where you could play him for 2 and then restand 2 and play another guy for 2. So not bad. Next up we have Tony Chopper, 2/2, 2K counter, Film, Animal, Straw Hat Crew, Wisdom type. His effect is Dawn ×1 when attacking. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. So very situational. You're going to have to put at least 3 Dawn on him to swing at lead. If we're talking about Whitebeard, you're going to have to do 4. But he is able to rest a blocker. But he does have 2K in hand, so maybe use him as a 2K counter instead of his effect. But, you know, his effect could wind up being helpful for game. Then we have Trafalgar Law, a 2/3 1K counter slasher, Film, Supernova, and Hearts Pirate. So searchable off of Bonnie from the starter deck. His effect is activate main, rest 1 Dawn. You may return this character to the owner's hand. Play up to 1 character with a cost of 3 from your hand. So this is an effect to first turn. If you go second, you play him for 2 and you just kind of keep him there, and then you can get a 3-cost character out for 1 next turn because you just rest this, and then he's back in hand. And then the turn after, you can play him again and then set up playing a 3-cost for 1. So you get to cheat out a 3-cost character. So all in all, not a bad card. And he does have a parallel, or not necessarily parallel, he does have an alternate version that is the regional version of him, which is it looks a little better than this one. Then our next SR is Nami, a 3/5 special attribute. Film, Straw Hat Crew. She has an on play and when attacking. So either on play or when attacking, or technically on play and when attacking. You rest 1, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 film type card other than Nami, add it to hand, then place it. So it is a look at top 3 searcher. She can also swing at lead, so you can get 2 searches off of her in 1 turn. You could even, if you want to add these film cards to the Law deck, she can be an on play, next turn when attacking, bring back the hand, play with a combo, and then do 3 searches and get 3 cards within 2 turns. So not bad. She also does have a parallel, which is, it looks nice. Then we have Nico Robin, a 3/4 striker, 1K counter, Film and Straw Hat. On play up to 1 Film or Straw Hat type character card with a cost of 2 or less from hand. So the only one that I can think of right now is Chopper, or a Searcher Nami, but you get, you can get one more character out in the field just to have more board presence. So any card that lets you play another card is going to be inherently better than anything else. She also is a 1K, so good in hand as well. So pretty good card. Then we have Momoshi, a 3/4 slasher, Minx, Land of Wano, the Akaza 9, just a blocker, A 4K blocker, not bad, pretty good. Then we have our next vanilla here, a 5/7 1K counter special attribute Frankie. Just another card that can be used for Sanji, leader Sanji. Then we have Brooke, a 4/5 1K counter slasher, Film and Straw Hat. On play up to 1 Film or Straw Hat type character card with a cost of 3 or less from hand. So turn 4, or your turn 2, if you go second, your turn 2. Play him for 4, play Nico Robin, and then from Nico Robin, play a Tony Chopper. Three bodies on the field for the cost of 4, not a bad combo. And if you're playing Law, you can pick him up and then, do another combo like that next turn, something like that. So, pretty good. Then the next card is Monkey D. Luffy, a 7/7 striker, film, Supernova Straw Hat. He's a 7,000 blocker. He also does have an on play. Play up to one film or Straw Hat type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. Just looking from these past couple cards we've looked at, you can play Luffy. Luffy plays Brook. Brook plays Robin. Robin plays Chopper. 4 people on the field for 7 costs. Really good effect. And he's also a blocker on top of that. Definitely a big card. He also does have a parallel. This one is just, it looks really good. I believe it's also a card sleeve. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is a card sleeve as well. Really nice card. Definitely one of the chases. Then the next card we have is Yamato, a 4/6 Land of Wano striker attribute. Her effect is she's also treated as Kozuki Oden, so this is the second Yamato that's treated as that. Then she has an on play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. That is basically anyone in the game. This is a really good effect. She's also able to be used in a law deck because she is 4, so she can be picked up and used again. Just really strong effect. And then also having her on the field lets you get a blocker for 1 on the field. So really nice card. One of the better Yamatos. Then we have Zoro, 4/6, 1k counter, film, Supernova Straw Hat. Another card to add to the Sanji pool. So moving on. Then we have Wanda, 2/3, 1k counter, Minx Tribe. She has an on play. Play up to 1 Minx Tribe character card other than Wanda with a cost of 3 or less from hand. So again, a card to add to the Minx Tribe deck whenever they add more Minx Tribe cards. You could probably find a use for her right now, but just this is very limiting as it is right now, but it is a really good on play effect. Then our first event here is 3 Sword Style Onigiri. It's a 3 cost event. Film, Supernova Straw Hat Crew. It is a counter event. Up to one of your leaders gains +6 during the battle. Then play up to 1 character card with the cost of 3 or less with no base effects from your hand. Its trigger is rest up to one of your opponent's leaders or character cards with a cost of 5 or less. So this inherently is just a really good counter because it's +6 for only 3. Really good there. And then this also works really well for a Sanji deck because you're going to be having a lot of no base effects cards in your deck. And this not only protects you from an attack, but then lets you put out a card for the next turn. You can, swing at life. The trigger is pretty good. Rest up with one of your opponent's leaders or character cards with a cost of 5 or less. This might be a translation error, but if this actually does rest a leader, then the trigger is just crazy. If it actually does, if this does rest a leader, and you're actually able to play this from life, that's gonna be, just wild. And the next card we have is Diable Jambe, Venison Shoot. It's a 2 cost. A film and Straw Hat card, activate main, or its effect is a main effect, which is KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. So just a quick way to get rid of a card on the field. Then its trigger is play up to 1 character card with a cost of 4 or less with no base effects from your hand. Again, another card centered towards the Sanji deck. The trigger is more centered to the Sanji deck than the actual main effect, but not a bad card to add to, just a green deck in general because you're able to KO a 4 or less for 2. So, not bad. The next one we have is Paradise Totsuka. It is a 1 cost Land of Wano Kozuki Clan card. Its effect is main, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Then its trigger, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 3 or less. So it's not a bad card. It's a cheap way to rest a 4 cost character. The trigger is okay, but it's not a horrible card. I have seen some people play it online because it's just like I said, a cheap way to rest a card, or rest a blocker. So it really just depends how you're building the deck. Maybe in a Odin deck or Kinemon deck, but most likely not a Sanji deck, I feel. Then the last card we have is a stage card. It's the Land of Wano. It's a 1 cost. Its effect is activate main. You may trash one Land of Wano type card from your hand and rest this stage. Set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. So, if you're playing Kinemon, you might consider adding this guy into your deck. Or if you're just playing green with a couple Land of Wano cards, maybe have this in there. But if you're playing Odin, you don't really want this this card, because Odin's effect is a better effect than this. Because Odin, Leader Odin, you from the first set, you trash a card, restand 2 Dawn. Trash a Land of Wano card, restand 2 Dawn, sorry. But this one, you trash a Land of Wano and restand 1 Dawn. There's, maybe if you want this card in the deck, an Odin deck, just to trash to restand 2, maybe that might be useful, but even in a Kinemon deck, you don't really need this card. It's potentially just a dead-handed card with Kinemon, because you don't want to get rid of too many cards. So, yeah. So that is all the green cards that are going to be coming out for OP02. Let me know down below what card is your chase. And also, if you've seen some combos with these film cards where you can play, like the Luffy can play a 4 or less from hand, film or Straw Hat, or the Brook, or maybe even the Robin that can play a 2 or less. What are some combos that you've seen? Let me know down below. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video where we'll be going over all of the blue cards. So stay tuned for that. See ya.